In the heart of Washington, D.C., amid the glittering chandeliers and echoing murmurs of the grand ballroom at the Unity for America Women's Summit, a single whisper shattered the fragile facade of civility. Jill Biden, the poised and passionate former First Lady, leaned in close to Senator John Kennedy during a ceremonial photo op, her voice barely audible over the clicks of cameras. "You're nothing but a political opportunist," she hissed, her words laced with years of accumulated frustration from partisan battles that had scarred the nation's soul. The room froze for a split second, as if the air itself held its breath, waiting for the fallout from this unexpected clash between two icons of American politics. John Kennedy, the silver-haired senator from Louisiana with his signature folksy drawl and unyielding gaze, had always been a man of the people, or so he saw himself. Born in the humid bayous of the Deep South, he grew up in a modest home where his father worked long hours at a local mill and his mother taught him the value of hard work and sharp wit. Politics wasn't a career for him, it was a calling, forged in the fires of community service and a deep-seated belief in conservative principles tempered by compassion. He'd lost his first wife to a tragic illness years ago, a loss that left him with a quiet vulnerability beneath his tough exterior. Raising his daughter alone, he'd learned to navigate life's cruelties with humor and resilience, qualities that endeared him to constituents but often painted him as a caricature in the eyes of his opponents. Jill Biden, on the other hand, carried the weight of a lifetime dedicated to education, family, and public service. As a teacher for decades, she'd seen firsthand the struggles of everyday Americans, students from broken homes, families torn by economic hardship, and communities divided by ideology. Her marriage to Joe Biden had thrust her into the national spotlight, where she became a symbol of grace under pressure. But the years in the White House had taken their toll. The relentless attacks from the right, the personal tragedies like the loss of her stepson Beau to cancer, and the bitter 2024 election defeat had hardened her resolve. She viewed Kennedy not just as a political adversary but as a representative of the forces that had undermined her husband's legacy: obstructionist tactics, inflammatory rhetoric, and what she saw as opportunistic pandering to the base. The summit was meant to be a beacon of hope, a rare gathering where leaders from both sides of the aisle came together to discuss women's rights, education reform, and bridging the partisan divide. Organized by a bipartisan coalition, it featured panels on empowerment and unity, with speakers sharing stories of overcoming adversity. Jill had been invited as a keynote speaker, her speech focusing on the importance of empathy in leadership. Kennedy was there to represent the Republican perspective, emphasizing self-reliance and traditional values. The photo op was supposed to symbolize progress, a handshake, a smile, a moment captured for the history books. But beneath the surface, tensions simmered. Earlier that day, during a heated panel discussion, Kennedy had critiqued the Biden administration's policies on education, calling them well-intentioned but misguided handouts that rob people of their dignity. Jill, seated in the audience, felt it as a direct jab at her life's work. As the photographers positioned them side by side, Jill's composure cracked. The whisper escaped her lips, born from a mix of exhaustion and righteous anger. She regretted it almost immediately, but the damage was done. Whispers rippled through the crowd, journalists, activists, and dignitaries alike. Social media ignited within minutes. Clips of the moment going viral as hashtags like #BidenVsKennedy trended nationwide. The nation, already weary from years of political vitriol, watched with bated breath. Would this escalate into another ugly feud, or could something redemptive emerge from the chaos? Kennedy felt the sting of her words like a slap. Opportunist. Him. The man who'd turned down lucrative lobbying jobs to stay in the Senate, fighting for what he believed was right. Memories flooded back. Of late nights drafting bills for flood relief in Louisiana, of visiting hurricane-ravaged towns where families had lost everything, of his own daughter's tears when bullies mocked her father's accent in school. He could have lashed out, could have fired back with a barrage of accusations about the Bidens' own political maneuvers. But in that pivotal moment, as the cameras flashed and the room held its collective breath, Kennedy chose a different path. He turned to Jill with a calm, almost grandfatherly smile, his southern drawl cutting through the tension like a warm breeze. "I'm no opportunist, Jill. I just fight for what's right. Something you might have forgotten how to do." The one-line comeback landed like thunder. The ballroom erupted in a mix of gasps, laughter, and applause. It wasn't cruel, it was pointed, witty, and disarmingly honest. Jill's face flushed, a flicker of surprise crossing her features before she composed herself with a tight smile. The photographers captured it all, the raw emotion, the unexpected twist. As the event wrapped up, the two parted ways without further words, but the exchange had already sparked a national conversation. Pundits dissected it on cable news. Was it a low blow from Jill, or a deserved critique? Was Kennedy's response a masterclass in Southern charm, or a subtle dig at her integrity? In the days that followed, the story took on a life of its own. Social media divided along party lines, with conservatives hailing Kennedy as a hero of restraint and liberals defending Jill's passion as a stand against hypocrisy. But amid the noise, something deeper began to emerge. Personal stories flooded in, letters to Kennedy from constituents who'd faced similar accusations in their own lives, tales of resilience in the face of judgment. Jill, reflecting in private, felt a pang of regret. She'd always prided herself on building bridges, not burning them. In a quiet moment with her family, she admitted the whisper had been impulsive, born from the cumulative pain of seeing her husband's efforts dismissed. "I let my emotions get the better of me," she confided to Joe over dinner, her voice soft with vulnerability. "But maybe it's a wake-up call for all of us." Kennedy, back in Louisiana, received an unexpected call from an old friend, a moderate Democrat who'd served with him in Congress. "John, that line of yours. It cut deep, but it made people think. We need more of that. Less shouting, more substance." Inspired, Kennedy decided to turn the moment into something positive. He penned an op-ed for a major newspaper, titled, "Fighting for What's Right, a Call to Common Ground." In it, he shared his backstory, the boy from the bayous who learned that true opportunism lies in exploiting division, not healing it. He extended an olive branch to Jill, acknowledging her dedication to education and suggesting a joint initiative on literacy programs for underserved communities. "We may disagree on how to get there," he wrote, "but we all want a better America for our kids." Jill read the op-ed and felt a stir of emotion. It reminded her of why she'd entered public life, to make a difference, not to win arguments. She reached out privately, apologizing for the insult and accepting his invitation. Together, they launched the Unity Reads program, a bipartisan effort funding books and tutors in rural and urban schools alike. The launch event was emotional. Jill spoke of her teaching days, tears welling as she recounted a student who'd overcome dyslexia to become a doctor. Kennedy shared his daughter's story, his voice cracking as he described her pride in graduating college despite the odds. The audience, a diverse mix of red and blue, stood in ovation, not for a winner, but for the humanity on display. As the program gained traction, it became a symbol of what's possible when egos are set aside. Families across the nation shared how it helped their children, bridging gaps in communities long divided. The initial clash faded into legend, a reminder that even in the heat of battle, wit and wisdom can prevail over wrath. Kennedy's comeback wasn't just a zinger, it was a spark that reignited faith in dialogue. In the end, the story of Jill Biden and John Kennedy taught America a profound lesson. True strength lies not in silencing opponents, but in listening to them. In a world rife with insults and comebacks, the real stun comes from choosing unity over division, compassion over conquest. And as the nation moved forward, inspired by their unlikely alliance, it carried a simple, enduring message: fight for what's right, and remember, we're all in this together.